just about that time of night. Welcome to another video from our 5-acre homestead. I'm going to show you it's just about dark and these chickens are going to start going into the coop to roost, and then I'm going to go in the coop once they all get in. I'm going to go in the coop and I'm going to talk to you about my thoughts on the way I set my roost up. But I figured you could watch these chickens go into the coop and get ready to roost, and even the little guys get it figured out pretty fast. It's pretty funny how fast they learn how to get in the coop. I do have light set up on a timer, which is not at the correct time right now because our time is changing so fast that it's actually about it's about 15 minutes. It's about 15 minutes off right now. So generally all the chickens are generally in the coop by the time the light kicks on. They're all in already. I have it set up so that Ruby just running around goofy like. I have it set up so that when I first started using this automatic door, and I'll tell you what, that is probably one of the best things I've ever bought, was this automatic door. So when I put the door in, I watched a bunch of videos of how people were having problems with the automatic doors and how the chickens weren't all getting in before it was dark out. Oh, here come all the little chicks. Yeah, there's Ruby. Ruby's acting goofy. Oh, there goes our first little guy in. See, it doesn't take them long. They figured, a couple of them playing over there. It doesn't take them long to figure out how it all works. I mean, these are month-old chicks, and they know how to go up. They know how to go down. What's up, Ruby? What are you doing, girl? What are you doing? You looking at me awful funny. But it's kind of neat to see these youngsters. I mean, I got a pile of little guys here. I mean, it's really neat to see that they figure it out. The ones that I thought I was going to have the problem with was the guineas. I've never raised guineas before in my life, and I've watched a lot of videos on guineas and how they're really hard to get trained to a coop. Really hard. I was really unsure of how the guineas were going to integrate with this flock. Part of the reason why when I bought the guineas, I bought them with chicks, and I didn't buy them by themselves, was I was afraid I was going to have problems integrating the guineas into the flock and having problems with the coop and all with the guineas. That was my biggest concern with the guineas, because they are a lot different than chickens, And actually, I had a problem with getting the guineas to go out the door. That was very interesting. So below the nest box was open, and I had one square by the window open, and I had a couple guineas that they couldn't figure out. It's like they didn't have the perception to know where the hole was to go out the door, and I had an issue with a couple of them not being able to figure out where the door was. So I boarded up the bottom. And I haven't had a problem since. So I don't know if it's because they were looking out the chicken wire that's on the inside and looking out, they couldn't figure out where the door opening was, or what the deal was with that. But but that was the issue I had. But the door is working flawlessly, and actually here in another minute we're gonna see chickens just come piling. They're gonna start running from every which way to get inside here. And then, like I said, I want to talk about the roost and why I did what I did with the roost. And I watched a ton of YouTube roost videos, but it's pretty neat to watch these little guys. And I did have some problems when they first started figuring out how to come out the door. I did have problems with a few of them not figuring out how to go back in, and that's just something you got to work through. The first few nights you got to work through the little ones not understanding that when they went down they need to go back up, and they would end up underneath my coop, which is fine, because what I've done with my here they start coming now. It won't be long and they'll all start filing in the coop. But we'll give it a minute and let these guys get in the coop, and then we'll go inside and we'll talk about the roost setup and why I did what I did. And I really thought with space, the first thing is the space. And I built this coop is 12 by 12 outside dimension. The inside dimension is 11 feet 8 inches square. 4.5 high is my walls. 4.5 high is what I got the walls set at. But my problem is the layout of my coop, and then I got to start thinking about manure. They're gonna produce a lot of manure, and I was like, I didn't want buildup in one specific spot. That was my biggest concern, was going to be the buildup of the manure. And then I found the deep litter method, and that changed my whole, doing what I'm doing with the chickens. This deep litter method, if you're not doing it, you should really look into it, because it is absolutely amazing. The deep litter method has changed the way my thought process was with building this coop from the ground up. I built this coop around the deep litter method, is how I built this chicken coop. The inside is set up for the deep litter method, and the reason why I did what I've done is kind of based around the deep litter method. The reason why the door is up higher is because once I take you inside and we start talking about the deep litter method and my thought process on the deep litter method, after I show you the roosts, why the roosts are the way they are, my thought process behind the roost. My thought process behind the roost is thinking of birds, your cardinals, and things of that sort that live in trees, is kind of how my thought process on the roost came about. Birds don't sit on a static tree branch. That tree branch moves with the wind, and that's kind of my thought process on my chicken roosts. If you take a chicken and you slowly move a chicken back and forth, the body moves but the head stays still. So that's kind of how my roost is set up. They absolutely love the roost. The guineas are starting to come now. It'll be a few minutes, then the guineas will be here. The guineas are about the mid-bird in, and they go in and they go out right before they go in and roost. It'll be an in and out game. That one's up in the weeds over there. I think this one here is a rooster, but I'm not sure. It hasn't really, not quite sure on this one here. It's got a little bit higher comb and a little bit darker, longer wattles than all the rest. Not sure if that, I do have a rooster in here. I've bought these all as sex pullets. All of these chicks are supposedly sex pullets, but you know, you get about, you know, that's about 93, 94% accurate. I do know I do have a rooster in here. I've heard him trying to crow, but I haven't figured out which one it actually is, which chicken's the one that's crowing.